Hi guys, today I'm going to explain every single move in the beautiful game of chess. Now, I sometimes get asked in the comments, why didn't you explain this move? And, it's moves that I do every single day, like sometimes the opening moves I sort of glance over a little bit. But we're going to go through everything today, from the most basic of opening principles to the deep tactics, which are most likely going to emerge later in this game. 10 plus 5, I'm a 2000 rated player, so it's on lead chess, so like a 1600 really. So yeah, it's my understanding that there's always going to be deeper levels, whatever level you're at in chess. So I've got the black pieces, so I play the Caro-Kann, which is creating a central structure like this and this. And we try and get this bishop out early. And then, well, the opening is about getting your bishops out. It's about creating a structure which provides your piece's activity. Now, sometimes beginners will ask, what does this move do? Like knight here, what does that do? And I'll just be like, develop. And some people would think that I'm just being glib, or not glib, but being short, like not giving a thorough explanation, just developing. But when you look at computers, they provide objective, they objectively measure positions based upon activity, right? So developing it is a genuine thing. Like this, controls more the knight controls more squares here than it does on its starting square. So that's why we develop. That's why we put pieces in the center. And you hear me talking about the center so much, guys, because it's almost like chess is 2D, right? If chess was 3D, then the center would be raised on a hill. It's like King of the Hill. Chess is a war game. Like in war, the hill was the most strategic point. And that's because, say this bishop goes here. A pawn here is controlling all these squares. Whereas if there's a pawn here on the edge of the board, this bishop comes and hits it. That pawn is controlling only the square that it's on, whereas this one is controlling 4. So in that way, this is 4 times more. It's not 4 times more valuable, but it's probably twice as valuable, a central pawn compared to an outside pawn. So we've used way too much time, guys. I'm probably going to lose this because I'm explaining absolutely everything. So the opening, we've got to get our pieces out. Bishops are liable to be trapped in. Bishops are better in open positions, so we've got to really, really think about where we're putting them in the opening. Knights, on the other hand, can bounce around between squares, and we don't have to stress out about them so much. So we play this just to create a strong structure in the center with all pawns protecting each other. But we have locked the bishop out of the game, so we've got to be aware that, maybe we're going to trade this guy off. So they give me a little check, but that's fine. I can just develop and block the check, and develop and blocking is always better than just retreating. If you can block and develop. So this is a good move. This is actually annoyingly good. So they're attacking a pinned piece. So there's pressure on this knight. So when they've got that, you always want to try and add pressure, guys. So what do we do against this? So they're threatening takes, and takes, which would be check hitting the rook. They're also just threatening this. So how do I defend both threats? I can't really. I could get a piece out and defend the bishop. Probably best just to get a piece out. Even though we're going to lose a pawn here, guys, we should survive this opening. We're just trying to get our king castled at this point. Now I'll put the knight here because knights provide defensive options really well. If you often when I've been losing a game, and then I've looked at the engine analysis, it just says just carry on developing. Even if you're losing a pawn, just stick to the principles. Now if we block with the queen here, we lose the rook. So let's block here with the knight. So that's what I mean. That knight there, more centralized, provided us with that option. Even though I'm not good enough at chess to see that, you know, there. And maybe if I had more time, I would have. But, you know, just having the knight there provided us with that defensive option. So now they're just stockpiling pressure here, but actually it's defended twice. And I don't see how they add another attacker. So we can actually just calculate ahead. We can't see how they add another attacker. Therefore, we can sort of dismiss this threat a little bit. And maybe come in and just hit the queen. Starting to centralize a rook. See, a rook behind the pawn is not very active. It's only controlling one square, the pawn. Whereas, well, vertically. Whereas vertically now we're controlling quite a lot. So they're going to have to retreat their queen, maybe here. They just trade off the material. So there, guys, this is sort of gamesmanship, but here I was moving my rook, which undefends the pawn, and admittedly they could maybe come here, win the pawn. But at this point I'm already down a pawn, so I'm not playing... I wasn't playing to get into an endgame and, you know, promote my pawn. I was playing for an attack, you know, an initiative. You know, this rook gave me some time, gave me an initiative on the opponent's queen. But now they've forced me to trade off, so now I'm forced into this endgame position. So activity is everything. We're down a pawn, but we can, if we can make our pieces sing, it's not going to matter. So this knight doesn't have many prospects, does it? Bishop here looks happy. Controlling a lot of space. Now, targets, guys. The initiative is all about who controls the flow of the game. So if we go here and attack this pawn, this weak pawn here, that'd be us with the initiative, because they've got to respond to that. They've got to defend. So a bishop here, just because it's open squares. No, there's no tactic yet. There could be tactics here later on with a check. And then this bishop could get pushed back. You know, pawn here. And this is a common trap, guys. So that move there, if I just move my king, they're threatening this. And if I slide back, this here, and then this to try and trap the bishop. It doesn't work because we can take. But this is like a bit of an innocuous move. You don't think it's a threat. And then they can hit you with this. We've also got this square though, so it's not quite working for white, trapping my bishop. If this, they presumably come here, hit my bishop. If here, they develop. I don't love it. This rook's okay, but we don't really have a pawn break to try and actually open up this file for the rook. So we might have to shift over to this file and attack that weak pawn there. Also just pushing this. Right, so this is a decision. Do we push here, which sort of stops them expanding anymore, you might think? Which it does. Maybe they go for this pawn break in the future. But if this, it leaves us with this really weak backwards pawn, which we've got to just consider for a second, like, can we defend that? Can we bring rooks to defend? And I think we could, but do we want to immobilize both my rooks to a lowly defensive role? Probably not. So this structure's strong, so let's leave it like it is. I mean, that takes space. Just starting to bring the king looks okay. I think we've got to try and get active with the rooks. And if we can stop them moving their bishop, that's a slight victory for me. If we double up here. So they just immediately correct their structure so that this pawn is now defended. But we can just slide over back. We'll bring this rook, and now both rooks are looking quite nice, taking some space. So again, rook here was only controlling this square really, but now vertically we're controlling a lot more space. But yeah, no like specific tactics coming up, I don't think. So maybe this to take space. If takes, they'd get this. So This looks nice now. If we can start to try and undermine this, you know, if we take their bishop, for example. And if we induce this, I don't know, that seems weakening to the structure. Because maybe this becomes like a backwards pawn they've got to protect with their bishop, for example. Yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about this explaining every move malarkey, guys. So, we've got this knight covered if we want to take it. It's nice to have the option too. There's also this lurking. So if they put another rook here, for example, we could have like a big fork, a big double attack. So this now, they can't take because of this. And even if there wasn't this tactic, if they took, we'd have lost the pawn, like materially, technically. But in the engine's eyes, it wouldn't be a true loss of a pawn because we've just double isolated their pawns and provided like targets for the future. So if here they could take, we'd take. I'm thinking, guys, set up this threat of taking the rook at the end. If here takes, we win the rook. Although they could just take back with the knight, couldn't they? So could we add any more pressure to this? What if we come here? If we can add pressure here, break through, would be nice, wouldn't it? So, my rooks are better than their rooks. This rook's really bad here at the corner. This knight actually is dominated by my pawn. Domination where a piece takes away a lot of the squares. So we've got 4 minutes left because I've been talking too much. So, yeah, threatening this. Maybe bishop back just so they can't expand with tempo in the future. Because they might do it at a really annoying moment where my bishop gets trapped. And just to save calculation in the future, guys. Yeah, he goes for it. We go here, though. If here, this, take. The cat takes, bishop covers. So it's this or this. Both is fine. My instinct's telling me this. I don't know why, though. Let's try it. Sorry, I didn't explain that move, guy. It was just a 50-50, and because of time pressure, like, I've got 4 minutes left. You just sometimes got to make them, like, just trust your gut decisions. So, still bishop's very active. Theirs is horrible. My pieces are better, but it's a case of can I convert my activity into an actual material advantage. So if they take here, we're happy. You damage the structure. So 4 minutes against 6 minutes. And guys, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll know I've got time issues. It's probably the weakest part of my game. So they activate their bishop on this diagonal now. If we take this though, this. I mean, it's a bad isolated pawn for us. So taking actually activates their rook. So talking about activity, let's not bless them with that rook activity. Instead, we're opening up my own rook with this move. Opening up my bishop to this diagonal, this weak pawn here. Maybe I don't know how they defend it though. Because there's 2 attackers on this, so maybe they push it. They push that one, alright. But if we take, they take, we get this. And have they got an in-between move hitting my king or something? No, they could hit my rook, but I'd take. So yeah, this looks nice. Take. Not only have we won a pawn out of that, we've given them like double isolated pawns. And I think we can come back and win it. Let's try it. Grab that, and then we're going to come and focus on this pawn, because this is a passed pawn. We don't want to let them like start mobilizing and defending this pawn, but I don't think they can really. They can't bring the knight in. My pawns dominate it. And the rooks are sort of... Yeah, the rooks can't really defend it either. So this is coming. Now they're threatening to jump to this square or this square. So again, pawn domination of knight would be this to cover these two jumps. If this is my bishop getting trapped, this here, I think we're alright. We've got to control this knight. Not just for the sake of the actual position, but for the sake of my brain and just time. So this. Yeah, knights just burn your clock. Sorry, my phone just buzzed, guys. So we got some pressure here. Now if this moves to try and trade off my bishop, we can do this, and if takes, takes. We can also just grab that. If this, and they try and win the pawn, I can just reinforce. Takes, takes. I think I'm alright. So let's grab this pawn. I just had to ask myself then, am I being greedy? Yeah, sometimes pawn grabbing can be a little bit greedy. I've just given away my bishop for the knight. Yeah, like bishops are considered like slightly better than knights, but only really when you got two bishops working together, because they can control loads of squares. So this wins a pawn. Unless they block with a rook. Yeah, I think that's what they'll do. But now I'm up a pawn, so I'm actually now happy to trade. And also this I'm happy with. Can't take, so we take. It is a bit annoying because we're sort of activating their king. Their king is getting one square closer to the center. Now if takes, takes, this pawn is forever weak, regardless, I think. If here takes, takes, we're left with double isolated pawns. So I think the best option is letting them take, and we can actually start to activate our king towards the center. Now if here they activate their king, it's sort of a helpful check. We sort of do need to respect this pawn here. It's a passed pawn. I think we've got to get rid of it. But it is going to burn a little bit of time now, so they can start like an initiative attacking my pieces. Yeah. Oh, I hope I win this, guys. This could be quite an instructive video. So they're going for this square, and after king moves, they'd win this pawn here. So I just come in. And now there's no check here. They've got this, which is annoying. But... oh, so they're defending their passed pawn. I can hit the rook, though. But then check, winning this pawn. This is tricky. So maybe I do trade this off. Because it was sort of a target there, like with that tactic, trying to win it. So this pawn is probably lost, but we could maybe use it as like a decoy. If this now, there's no tactic to win a pawn, so we're just hitting the rook here. And actually, that rook has to move. It can't stay here and defend the pawn. Every one of these squares is covered. Oh. Yeah, pawn defends. So here, centralizing the king. I'm not really scared of this rook because we're so close to it. It's like the king is a little short-term jabber, you know, short, stocky lad who's just got his little jabs. He needs to close the distance. So that's what we're doing with this rook. We're sort of closing the distance and not allowing the checks and stuff. Now, if this check, we just come up, so I don't think we care. We've got 1 minute left. Let's trade off this pawn. If we can do that right, yeah, this seems nice. If we can get rid of this pawn here, guys, we can go bang, bang, bang. These three pawns can be reconnected. Oh, I've just blundered this, though. If this, here, they win this, I win this. Takes, takes. Although I can go back and defend, can't I? Getting a bit low on time, guys, so my explanations are getting more and more, like, basic. So here... no, I think we've got to bring the king. If this... I think they maybe could have gone check and won the base of the pawn chain. So we'd love to get the king up. I'm not sure how much to respect this pawn here, really. So if up, they get to push with a check, but I just take it. So we don't mind. And now maybe I could add pressure to this pawn. This pawn here, I can always swing back and defend. And by that time, I might have my own serious threat. And we might get into a bit of a race situation. So let's threaten this pawn. I think we're winning it. And now we're going to be up 2 pawns. They're just hanging their whole life on this. So, oh god. So it takes, push. We don't get back in time for the pawn, so we can't actually take this, which is a bit of a nuisance. But if we go here, let's try and win this. They go there, which gives me this pawn. If here, though, so the king still defends the pawn, but they get this check. I go here. Right, this is getting dodgy now. These passed pawns are looking scary. So if this, stopping that pawn progressing, their king can now come in. But we're going to be up maybe 2 pawns here. I'm assuming we're going to win this. And this can never promote. Even if they get it here, rook here, I just take the pawn. As long as we don't put my king on the back rank. But I'm not planning on doing that. So this to just defend everything. And if king somehow got to this square, we could push. And the king would never catch my pawn. So 50 seconds to this. If here. So coming up. If here I just take. So check. And then I need to create my own like passed pawn threat. If this, they get this square. So here they get this check. 40 seconds left. I'm trying to get to this square here, so I can like support the pawns coming up. I just don't want to blunder like a check. So if if this. Okay, so yeah, these pawns are looking scary now. This, I get up. Check. And if they take this, then I promote. But I think I'm too slow here. Yeah, I think it's lost. This, they take. Yeah, so they're threatening this. And if take the pawn, they promote. So if this, they go here. Takes. I think we should probably try to get our pawns as advanced as possible. But yeah, it's a bit desperate at this point, guys. So they go for it. I win this pawn, but they get that queen. And I don't have any checks. So it's too slow. So they just need to just check me here. Check. So I come up. Have they got a way of winning my rook? I mean, if I can get here, if I could get my king safe, I might have chances here. But my king's always going to be checkable, so there's not much hope. So we might get to this square. So if here, this, where's their check? Here. Yeah. But then I go here. Okay. I might be creating a chance to promote. 30 seconds. 3 passed pawns and a king. Even if they just sack though, that might be okay. Yeah, this looks very tidy, doesn't it? So they're just threatening to take this, which actually looks solid. I can't defend it with my rook. Yeah. Here, at least I'm not in check, but it's too slow. And then we're going to push this just to give us a chance. But we're getting mated, guys. I did use a lot of time talking, to be fair, but I thought there was some instructive moments there. Maybe if they just somehow run out of checks, like that's our only hope, really. This is mate. So we go here and it's still mate. I don't think there was any stopping it, really. But yeah, hope there's some instructive moments there, guys. What was that? A Caro game? Yeah, they give us mate. We came out. We got the pieces developed. We did some stuff. Where did we lose this game? I always like to, even if I'm not going to fully analyse a game, I always like to go back and just see where I lost it. And I think it was somewhere here allowing this pawn to get so powerful. Maybe I should have gone here and just blockaded it. Something like that. But yeah, hope you enjoyed that, guys. Like and subscribe. See you next time. Cheers.